Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We like to get started if we can. Good morning, and wow, this is an awesome turnout. Welcome to the 2018 Girls Inc. State of the Girl Breakfast. It's such a pleasure to see the amount of young ladies and support that's in this room this morning for this event. So I thank you all for joining us this morning. If you would, at this time, we'd like to direct your attention to the screen for a short video.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying.
I'm at risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of regretting what I do, just to join the crowd.
I'm at risk of being told what to tell.
And you would never know it by looking at me. But with Girls Inc. in my corner,
Therefore, every day,
believing in me,
Show me what's possible.
I can be strong enough
to respect myself and my body.
to say I can rather than I can't,
To say no with no apology.
To be a leader.
to finish school,
To own my future.
to break the cycle.
Girls Inc. believes every girl can succeed. That's why the trained professionals of Girls Inc. are there for our girls every day, supporting, mentoring, and guiding them in a safe, girls-only environment, building bonds that last for years and change that lasts a lifetime. Girls Inc. gives girls the tools they need to boldly face challenges, to resist peer pressure, to be the first in their families to go to college, to beat the odds. With Girls Inc. in her corner, every girl can be healthy, confident, and resilient. She'll do more than dream about her potential. She'll reach it.
With you in my corner,
With you in my corner,
I will not be another statistic. I will fight for myself.
For my future.
With you in my corner, I will win.
Fuel her fire and she will change the world. Girls Inc. Inspiring all girls to be strong, smart, and bold.
At this time, I'd like to invite Finn of the Brentwood Freshman Center to the podium.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. My name is Finn, and Girls Inc. has made me strong, smart, and bold. All right. My name is Finn, and Girls Inc. has made me strong, smart, and bold by thinking one voice does matter. I will now recite the Girls Inc. Bill of Rights. Everyone follow along on screen. Girls have the right to be themselves and to resist gender stereotypes. Express themselves with originality and enthusiasm. Take risks to strive freely and to take pride in success. Accept and appreciate their bodies. Have confidence in themselves and be safe in the world. Prepare for interesting work and economic independence.
Good morning again, and welcome to the Girls Inc. of Long Island State of the Girl Breakfast. My name is Karen Kemp Smith, co-chair of the State of the Girl Breakfast Committee. It is my honor to serve as a board member of this great organization, one that truly supports our young ladies to be strong, smart, and bold in everything that they do. At this time, I'd like to thank our sponsors, our Fuel Her Fire sponsors. They include BNB Bank, Canon USA, Coca-Cola, and PSCG Long Island. Our In Her Corner sponsors, Ernst & Young, New York Community Bank, National Grid, People's United Bank, Ruskin Moscow Faltashek PC, TD Bank, and NYU Winthrop University Hospital. We'd also, like to thank our food sponsors, Bagel Hut, Best Market, Costco, Fairway Market, G&L Bagels, Meat Farms, Panera, Walmart, and ShopRite. I'd also like to acknowledge our breakfast committee. If you could all please stand. Without you, this would not be possible. Everyone worked tirelessly to make this breakfast an outstanding event, and we thank each and every one of you. I'd like to also welcome our special guest for today. From our Girls Inc. national staff, we're happy to have Annie Heitman, Region 3 Director, Charlene Jackson, Director of Affiliate Services, and CEO, Judy Vredenberg. We'd like to also thank elected officials, Joshua Lefazin, Legislator Monica Martinez, Chief of Staff Crystal Berger, Legislator Arnold W. Drucker, Suffolk County Regional Rep Brian Sapp, Chief of Staff Jessica Mitchell, Councilwoman Viviana Russell. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Through programming and advocacy, we are able to empower girls to assert themselves, give them the opportunity to develop a skill set that will enable them to become leaders in their communities and give them hope for the future. Since founded on Long Island in 2005, Girls Inc. has touched the lives of over 1,000 girls living in Nassau and Suffolk counties. Today, girls continue to encounter significant obstacles to their well-being and success. 1 in 4 girls will not finish high school. 78% of girls are unhappy with their bodies by the age of 17. 3 in 10 girls will become pregnant before the age of 20. And 1 in 4 girls will be a victim of childhood sexual abuse. We help meet these challenges through the Girls Inc. experience, which helps girls explore and celebrate their strengths, their voices, who they are today, and who they will become tomorrow. And that brings us to the discussion taking place today, the state of the girl. Before we introduce our keynote for this morning, I'd like to invite Judy Vredenberg, the National CEO of Girls Inc., to the podium to say a few words. Thank you.
Hello. What a great way to start my morning. Thank you so much for inviting me. Renee, where are you sitting, Renee? Oh, there you're not sitting, of course. It's my great pleasure to be here because Girls Inc. of Long Island is really on the move. You have grown substantially over the last few years. For us, it's a relatively new affiliate, and the momentum is just gathering under Renee's leadership. I am pleased to report that we at National have granted this affiliate one of our exclusive Growth with Impact grants. Congratulations. The criteria for those grants are twofold. One is a readiness to grow. Are the conditions ripe for success? And 2, is there a really great growth plan? And our team looked at that with tough, critical eyes, like we help girls develop their critical thinking skills. We like to model that too. And the team has decided to make the full grant to this wonderful, exciting affiliate. Congratulations. You all have been growing, and you're continuing to grow to make that transformational change at the individual girl level, equipping girls to make healthy choices, achieve academically, and grow up to be independent. That's what we mean by strong, smart, and bold. And we are also working on the advocacy level. I really would like to acknowledge the team here in Long Island under the leadership of the board and staff for its partnership with the Governor's Council, Governor's Commission on Girls and Women's. Thank you for being an advocate at the state level for advancing the rights and opportunities for all girls. Really appreciate that leadership. Also, besides increasing the number of school partnerships, going where the girls are, the girls in high need are, where there's really not enough resources and support in the community, we're there to support the girls that don't have the access and the opportunities, but have so much within them if only they have the support. In addition, in the summertime, we provide programming camps. And here at Girls Inc. of Long Island, there's STEM partnership with the very prestigious scientists at the Brookhaven National Institute's laboratory. So congratulations for that too. It's my absolute honor to join you today and to be committed, as we all are, to helping our girls grow up to be really healthy. It starts with health. We can't become academically successful and achieve if we don't have our physical and mental health. So I look forward, like you all do, to hearing from the panel about the state of girls, particularly in the subject of health, mental and physical health. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Before we continue, I'd like to say a special welcome to the Brentwood School District, who has joined us this morning. They're one of our partners in our programs, so we'd like to say a special welcome and good morning to you as well. At this time, if Kaylin would come to the podium.
Hi. My name is Kaylin, and Girls Inc. has made me strong, smart, and bold by its tight sisterhood community. So thank you for that. I'm excited to introduce our keynote speaker. Kim Wheeler is the founder of the Love Group, a nonprofit speaking agency for young girls struggling with skin disease, psoriasis, for over 20 years. Kim saw her skin clear up after implementing a strict regimen of proper nutrition, which included self-love, the #1 food for the soul. After a long career of working in the TV and film industry, she is now devoted to guiding others on the path to a healthy life, not only through dietary changes, but also a large helping of self-love. She is an international certified health coach, speaker, and author.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here today speaking to you. I just love what Girls Inc. is doing all over the country, which is why I originally connected with Renee. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. Which is why I originally connected with Renee. When she asked me to speak to you about what it was like for me to grow up on Long Island, a few things first came to mind right away. First of all, I felt safe. Levittown, where I grew up, had this great sense of community. I remember our annual summer block parties and dancing the night away in front of the DJ booth. I spent a lot of time outside playing kickball with my neighborhood friends during the summer and building snowmen and igloos on my front lawn in the winter. My sisters and I used to love to go to the orchards for apple picking and hay rides. When I got to high school, I kept busy as a cheerleader and being in all the plays. And because I was old enough to babysit, I spent every penny I earned at the Sunrise Mall at H&M, my favorite store. Although that was until I got a job working at Dortoni's, my local bakery. I must have gained 12 pounds that year. and was legitimately very sad when their clothes stopped fitting me for a while. Like every Long Island girl, my friends and I would ride our bikes to Jones Beach. We'd sit outside the theater and listen to the music on the grassy area when we couldn't afford to buy a ticket. And I'll never forget my heart being broken for the very first time by my first real high school boyfriend. I can remember my world feeling like it was ending and I would never get through it. Time really does give us a little perspective. But it's funny when you look back and you think of those moments where you are sure you wouldn't survive. But we do, don't we? Back in high school, if you knew me, you probably would have grouped me in with the popular kids. I was a cheerleader, like I said, so I socialized with the guys on the football team. I had a lot of really good friends. I had a cute boyfriend. I was in the drama club, so I was in all the plays, and I made friends with all the theater kids and the choir members. When I graduated, my peers voted me most fun to be with in the yearbook. So from the outside looking in, my teenage years seemed amazing. Everyone thought I was confident and happy. But from the inside looking out, I was extremely insecure. My home life was chaotic. My dad was an alcoholic, and every day was unpredictable. I didn't know if he would be drunk when I got home from school, or if he would be sober when he picked me up after rehearsal. You know, of course, as adults, we know not to drink and drive, and we know not to get into the car with someone who's been drinking. But I was just a kid. He was my dad. I assumed I just had to listen to him. I didn't know I had a choice. But I was always scared. Scared that we would get into an accident, scared that my dad would die from this disease, scared that my mom would run out on us because of it. The most persistent feeling from my childhood was the feeling of living in fear. Because of my dad's alcoholism, my parents just couldn't give me the amount of love that I needed. So I found myself looking for it in other places. My boyfriend, my friends, my sisters, my teachers, counselors, you name it, whoever would give it to me, I sought approval from everyone around me. And I grew up believing that I needed to be liked by everyone. So yes, I got most fun to be with in the yearbook, and that was amazing. But it didn't come naturally. I went against my own desires, saying yes to everything and everyone, because I needed love. And I would go against my own desires when most of the time, what I most often wanted was to say no. And that included drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, trying pot, giving into pressure from boys. But also, because I was so focused on pleasing everyone, I was easily taken advantage of. For example, I would often pay for people when I couldn't afford it. Why? Because I needed love, and I thought the way to get it was by gaining everyone's approval. I was so wrong, but we'll come back to that. So I did 2 years of college in Long Island, and then I finished my degree in New York City, and that's where I really discovered my tribe. You know, I thought I was finally free from living under the shadow of my family's secrets. Unlike high school in my small town, no one knew me in my college classes, so I didn't have to live in fear of people finding out about my dad. I had more freedom, independence. You know, physically it was only 30 miles away, but emotionally it was on the other side of the world. Finally, it would be a fresh start. My best friend Katie and I used to stay up till all hours in the morning studying at our local diner. We'd order cheese fries and gravy and drink loads of coffee. Actually, it wasn't until I started working at the Plainview Diner and had to say the word coffee multiple times a day that I finally became aware of my Long Island accent. Would you like some coffee? Coffee. 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 Ugh. We all know that Long Island diners are more frequented than our kitchens. So after work, to blow off some steam, we would all go dancing at Spit. Does anybody remember Spit? Ah, yes! It was also called Uncle Sam's, and it was right next door to the Tri-County Flea Market in Levittown. I would actually have my mom drop me off down the street because I would have been so embarrassed if anyone saw me getting out of her car. But once inside, I felt like $1 million dancing to Madonna, Gloria Gaynor, and everything Donna Summer. Thursday night, actually, was ladies' night, and women got in free at every bar. It might still be that way today. My friends and I would take the Long Island Railroad into Manhattan. We'd be sipping on our wine coolers out of brown paper bags. Classy. But it was such a party on the way in. Everyone was so loud and obnoxious. And we would take the cab down to the East Village and we'd go bar hopping and meet boys. It was always about the boys. It wasn't a good night unless one of us got smoochies, as we like to call it. And we never dressed for New York weather, choosing fashion over function. We would always be freezing to death all the time. And we always missed that last train back to Long Island. And we'd be stranded in Manhattan until the morning commute. Perhaps you saw us. It was quite a scene. We would be exiting the train, half asleep, makeup smeared, and we'd be just looking down to avoid all the judgmental faces of those productive members of society on their way to work. Now that I commute, I see these young girls heading in, and I just want to give them a hug and tell them to wear sensible shoes. You know, looking back, I really do have some wonderful memories. Ice skating in Rockefeller Center, going to see concerts at MSG, bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches. I never felt lonely in New York. You know, all those experiences shaped who I was and who I became. And in some ways, Manhattan was a fresh start, and in some ways it wasn't. As much fun as I had, I wasn't complete. At the age of 19, I learned that I developed psoriasis. Suddenly, I was covered in those red, scaly spots, and they were extremely itchy and humiliating. My mind was consumed with thoughts like, who will date me now? Will I ever feel comfortable in my own body again? Will people judge me and think I'm contagious? Will I always feel worthless? The shame was just too overwhelming. You know, I spent my teenage years hiding my father's drinking problem, and now I was going to spend my 20s hiding my skin. I couldn't go on. Unlike my first heartbreak or growing out of my H&M clothes, my 19-year-old self was convinced this would kill her. But it didn't, because these things never really kill us, right? We thrive and we survive. And I did what every strong woman would do. And you know, here in Long Island, we raise our women strong. I adapted to my new normal. I wore long sleeve shirts when my skin was irritated. And I learned different techniques to stave off flare-ups. Eventually, I made dietary and lifestyle changes that got my psoriasis under control. But the real breakthrough didn't come till about 6 years ago, when I was well into my 30s. I said that at the start of this, that as a kid, I craved and really depended on love. Well, I still seek love today. We all need love. But what I've learned is that that love that we need, it has to come from within. I can give it to myself. I don't have to seek it from others. And that's not to say that it's not important to have the love of others and to give love to others, but there's a big difference between needing it and wanting it, and I didn't know that when I was younger. This idea of self-love is more than enough to fill the void of needing. And the best part is, it's always there. So many of us form dependencies on others, and then we're left devastated when they leave our lives for some reason. And I've been there. I'm guilty of it too. I've lost a friend, I've gone through breakups where I'm left with this great sense of abandonment and dread. But while others come in and out of my life, I can't leave me. I can't escape myself. You know, if I'm feeling down one day and I need an extra dose of love, self-love is the way to provide it. And there was something really amazing and freeing about this when I really started to grasp the idea. Self-love is such an interesting concept because it's so easy to define, but it can be interpreted in so many different ways. So in simplest of terms, self-love means loving yourself. And maybe the verbiage throws people off. You know, people hear self-love and they go running for the hills. I know, it's very hippy-dippy, very woo-woo. I get it, I'm from New York. I have dealt with a lot of cynicism and I know all the stereotypes. So how about instead of self-love, I use the word empowerment. You know, finding your power and your voice, living your truth, being comfortable in your skin. Self-love is something we grow to achieve. Real self-love is when you unconditionally love yourself every minute of every day, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, how does it serve us to talk negatively to ourselves and to beat ourselves up? You know, why do we even engage in negative self-talk? why aren't we more loving and kind to ourselves? How would you feel if your boss said that that report you were killing yourself over needed some work? Or if your kid tells you that dinner was gross after slaving over it? It's enough that others cut us down, but so often we walk away and we put ourselves down as well. That negative self-talk creeps in. I'm not good enough. I could have done better. So those are the moments that we need to love ourselves the most. And that's where empowerment comes in, to put an end to all of that. Okay, so now that we know what self-love means, what does it look like? And this is the part where I think people get really confused, because there's just so many ways to love ourselves. It can be anything from spending time alone, not necessarily getting distracted, playing words with friends, or watching reruns of This Is Us, but just really doing what brings you joy. Trusting that things are going to work out even when you're full of doubt. Doing what lights you up inside, even when you're full of fear. Saying no when you really don't want to do something. Being grateful for all that's in our lives. Buying yourself flowers instead of waiting for someone else to do it. Taking time to de-stress when you know you need it. Loving your body when it makes you feel less than. That's a hard one. Finding your voice, as scary as that may be, and sticking up for yourself, standing up for yourself. If I loved myself when I was younger, I would not have kept going back to the boys who treated me poorly. I wouldn't have smoked cigarettes or drank alcohol. I wouldn't have been so scared to spend some time alone, getting to know myself. I would have felt more confident. I would have taken more risks. And maybe I would have worn sensible shoes when I went out for ladies' night. I'm just one girl from Long Island. Like all of you, I'm here striving to make a difference and spread positivity, and I'm starting here because this is my home. When I came to terms with this idea of self-love, it was a major breakthrough for me. You see, changing my feelings towards myself and my psoriasis actually changed the appearance of my disease. I was in a whole different mindset now. I put myself first. I ate right, I exercised. I stayed positive. And after years of medications and prescription creams that were only moderately effective, I healed myself of my condition. And from a very practical standpoint, self-love strengthens our immune system. And it increases our self-esteem, and it makes you feel happier and healthier, which is what we all strive for, right? I know that by you being here, you must believe in this place too. Long Island raised us and shaped us, and I'm proud of that. We raise our girls strong, smart, and bold, which is the stated mission of Girls Inc. This is why their work so aligns in this place. They want our girls to have the best possible experience growing up here. They want them to have the tools they need to believe in themselves. They want them to have the confidence to stand up for themselves and others. They want them to seek love from within and therefore not feel pressure to do anything they don't want to do. They want them to have the conviction to set and chase after their goals. We have the power to find, mold, shape, and nourish the next generation of female leaders. This is the work that Girls Inc. is doing. And because of the generosity of others, they can continue to hire incredible role models who can teach these girls all sorts of skills, everything from self-expression to health, to technology, to creativity, to business. Things that are not taught in our traditional curriculum, but prove to be vital to a happy and thriving society. Now more than ever, there is this call to action to empower young women, and Girls Inc. is answering that call. After all, an investment in our girls is an investment in a brighter future. I just want to thank Renee for all that you and your organization are doing to have such a positive impact on the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim. Let's thank Kim Wheeler again for sharing her story with us and for being a source of encouragement and empowerment for our young girls. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Renee Flagler. Renee is our Executive Director of Girls Inc. of Long Island and our moderator for this morning's discussion. Renee?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am thrilled to look at this room and see all these beautiful faces, all these girls, all these supporters, our CEO, our board members. This is absolutely amazing. So please applaud yourself for filling up this room. Thank you so much, Kim. That was absolutely wonderful. I'm sitting there, I'm like checking, like she touched everything. Did she not touch everything? Can everyone in this room had to relate to something, right? Being that young girl and kind of not feeling, feeling that, desire to please other people and do things just because your friends are doing it and you want them to like you. Thank you so much. So it is my absolute pleasure to get up every day and come to work and be the Executive Director for Girls Inc. of Long Island. This is my heart's work. This is not just a job, but it's actually, feel bad that I get to say that I get to go to sleep every single night and sleep well. So good morning. We are truly excited to be here this morning for this important discussion of the state of the girl. Last year, we canvassed our girls to find out what the most pressing issues were that they faced on a daily basis. The research revealed that our girls, right here on Long Island, were constantly battling issues with cyberbullying, body image, and the growing negative impacts of social media. Research indicates that 50% of students experience bullying, and at least 15% keep it to themselves and try to manage the problems alone. The negative impact of these issues can lead to depression, anxiety, health problems, decreased academic achievement, engaging in risky behaviors, including substance abuse, and unfortunately, even fatal incidents. Our goal here at the very important State of the Girl address is to raise awareness for what our girls are going through here on Long Island and what they're dealing with on a daily basis. We want to provide insight on how we as the collective Long Island community can support girls and inform you as an individual of the ways that you too can help empower our girls with your time, your energy, and your resources so that Long Island girls can grow up strong, smart, and bold. Therefore, it is my absolute pleasure to moderate this panel, this critical discussion with such amazing women who are our panel of experts, along with Girls Inc., who are doing the work every single day of helping to empower our girls to lead healthy, supported, and successful lives. So without further ado, I am delighted to call up our Girls Inc. girls to the stage first in order to help us introduce our panelists, our esteemed speakers. Ladies. Alyssa.
My name is Alyssa, and Girls Inc. has made me strong, smart, and bold by encouraging me to be the best I can be. I am pleased to introduce our next panelist, Ms. Cindy Reed Combs. Ms. Combs has been a social worker in Brentwood for 24 years and is also a field liaison at Adelphi University. Ms. Combs' work focuses on parent education, student empowerment, and child advocacy. Ms. Combs is a mentor for adolescent advocacy with the Holocaust Museum Tolerance Center. Ms. Combs has volunteered with the Butterfly Effect Project, is a member of the National Association of Social Workers, and serves on the board of Association for Mental Health and Wellness. Her favorite quote comes from Gandhi is, be the change that you want to see in the world.
Miss Cindy Reed Combs. Ben, you ready?
I am pleased to introduce our next panelist, Naomi Cunningham. Naomi has been a community health educator for over 8 years, providing sex education and breast cancer awareness outreach in underserved communities of color. Naomi is an adjunct professor at SUNY Old Westbury in a Community Action Learning and Leadership program and manages PPNC's Comprehensive Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Program. Her interest in sex education began in high school when she realized that the abstinence-only curriculum provided in health classes were biased, culturally insensitive, and ineffective. Naomi holds a master's in community health promotion from Adelphi University.
Miss Naomi Cunningham. Thank you, Miss Naomi Cunningham. Adriana?
Hi. My name is Adriana, and Girls Inc. had made me strong, smart, and bold by helping me to speak out my mind and trying to accept myself. I'm pleased to introduce our first panelist, Chelsea Carnegie. Chelsea Carnegie is a body image and eating disorder advocate and nonprofit professional. Presently, Chelsea works at the National Eating Disorder Association, NEDA, as a senior program associate. In this role, Chelsea manages the national dissemination of the Body Project, an evidence-based body confidence and eating disorder prevention program for high school girls. She also plays an essential role in NEDA's community engagement, strategic partnerships, media relations, and content development. Chelsea frequently speaks on behalf of NEDA's about her personal and professional experience with body image, eating disorders, and media literacy and weight and stigma.
Thank you. Ladies and gents, Chelsea Cronenberg. And last, Caitlin.
I am pleased to introduce our next panelist, Shannon R. Lane. Ms. Shannon Lane is an associate professor of social work at Sacred Heart University and was previously an associate professor at Adelphi University of Social Work. Before that, she worked for the United States Senate for 10 years. Shannon earned her BA in psychology from George Washington University, MSW from the University of Michigan, and PhD in social work from the University of Connecticut. Her first book, Political Social Work, Using Power to Create Social Changes with Dr. Suzanne Pritzker, was just published, and her second book, Social Policy in a Changing World, will be published in 2020.
Thank you, Shannon, for joining us. So we looked for the creme de la creme to pull together this panel to talk about our girls, to address the state of the girls, and we've got some questions for you today. So we'll start with a little bit about what each of you bring to the table. We already had the pleasure of being introduced by our girls, and then we're going to get right into some really interesting, some questions to just really educate our audience, and I want to kind of make sure that we kind of stay on time. So if each of you, in just a really quick summary, in 2 to 3 lines, if you could tell us just a little something about your role so we'll understand your perspective of expertise as we respond to the questions. Let's start.
Working in Brentwood High School as a social worker, I have had encountered, I'm sorry, do I need that? Can you hear me? I think so. Okay. I'm a social worker in Brentwood High School, and as a matter of my daily work with students, I will encounter situations which may mean cyberbullying, not just bullying. So while we have a number of programs in the school district that address such problems, it becomes a matter of course that we need to deal with one-on-one. So that's what I'll speak about further.
Good morning. Once again, my name is Naomi Cunningham, and I manage the New York State Department of Health grant, the Comprehensive Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Program, which provides comprehensive sexuality programming in school districts across New York State, but specifically for my purposes in Nassau County that experience high rates of teen pregnancy and STIs. So some ways that we work to reduce this experience here in Nassau County is working very closely with the school districts, making sure that we provide the sex ed programming in health classes, and also provide opportunities for youth to feel more comfortable to ask questions one-on-one. So that's working directly with the school social work department or nursing department. So we're just really that friendly face that can bridge the gap for what young girls may be experiencing during puberty, during teenage years. That's what I'll be speaking about today. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Cronengold, and I'm the Senior Program Associate for the National Eating Disorders Association. And really, the main thing that I do in my role is I oversee an evidence-based body confidence program called the Body Project, which we've had the privilege of partnering with Girls Inc. of Long Island, as well as Girls Inc. of Westchester, and some other organizations in the greater New York City area to deliver to girls. And so I'll be speaking mostly on, eating disorders prevention, body image. As in my bio, I'm in personal recovery, so I understand what it's like to be a young girl struggling with these issues, and I'm really excited to be here. Hi, I'm Shannon Lane, and I had the opportunity to work with a lot of young people from Long Island during the 10 years that I taught at Adelphi. One of the things that I've spent my career doing is to try to get more social workers, more women, more people of color to have a role in the political system and feel like their voice is heard. And so with some of the people in this room, I go around the country and train people to run for office and take leadership roles.
All right, so we're here to place a bit of a microscope on the life of girls here on Long Island. So from your perspective, what are some of the most pressing issues that you're seeing on a daily basis in your community? In other words, what is the state of girls on Long Island from your specific perspective?
Am I starting to
Sure.
So one of the things that it faces girls all over the country, and is absolutely true here on Long Island, is that without girls who are strong, smart, and bold, we continue to see a political system that doesn't represent everybody in the room and doesn't always act in the best interest of everybody that we want to be there. And so the statistics here on Long Island are really similar to the statistics in the rest of the country. So about 1 in 5 elected officials is a woman, here in New York and around the country. In the last couple of years, we've seen a lot more women running for office. And so, there are a few towns on Long Island who have their first female supervisor. We have Kara Hahn, who's a social worker and is the majority leader of the Suffolk County Legislature. So we're starting to see more role models, which is really, really important for girls, because it's hard for us to imagine doing something if we've never seen anybody like us doing it. One of the problems we continue to see is real underrepresentation of women of color in those offices. So even though 1 in 5 elected officials nationwide is a woman, that they're very, very likely to be white women. We just are not yet seeing women of color in those roles, which then doesn't provide role models for girls. And so if we can, get more girls to be smart, strong, and bold, and envision themselves in those roles, we have a real chance of changing that.
Right. And would you say, lending to the fact that if we have not just more women, but more women of color, more diverse women, that it gives our girls the opportunity to see themselves in government, regardless of what our girls look like?
Absolutely, and I don't want to be too academic nerdy about it, but there's a lot of research that shows that the makeup of our elected officials fundamentally changes not just the legislation that comes out of it, but the way that legislation is created. So there's a lot of people who say to me, I ask people every day, I say, have you thought about running for office? Every day. And a lot of them will say, well, look at what's happening in Albany, look at what's happening in Washington, D.C. I don't know if I want to be a part of that. But getting more women into those offices, we know from the research, changes that, and getting more people of color and more women of color in those offices absolutely changes those processes. So I think it's both. It's the representation, and it changes the end result of it as well.
Wonderful. Good. Do you need me to repeat the question?
No, I think I'm good.
Wonderful.
So, full disclosure, I'm a Jersey girl. However, I have family all throughout Long Island. I have boyfriends from Long Island, and I was a longtime camp counselor, mostly with high school-age girls in Long Island. So I feel very comfortable speaking to the issues of girls in Long Island. And my town in Jersey might as well just be like a little offshoot of Long Island. So we're good. But anyway, you know, when it comes to body image and eating disorders, I think now more than ever, social media plays a huge role in that. And I think girls really, I think women and girls have always been, you know, faced with these pressures to look a certain way and to achieve what we call the appearance ideal, this message that society tells us we need to look like. But now we have social media, and also, so there's filters, and you're always on. You're always expected to post pictures, and you know, people tend to post their highlight reel on social media, not what is going on in their day-to-day lives, and just them as they normally are. And then also with the increase in celebrities and the access to their everyday lives too, I think girls are really faced with the pressure to look a certain way and, you know, take unhealthy measures to try to conform to this body or beauty ideal that they might not look like naturally.
Thank you. There's so many ways that I can answer this question, so I'm trying to find a way to just really bring it all in together. When I think about the teen pregnancy rates across the nation, and even with our more immediate community here on Long Island, it is a great thing, it's great news that teen pregnancies are declining at least by 40%. So this is a great thing, and this is regardless of race, regardless of ethnicity. So we're seeing that there is great improvement and great strides being made when we're speaking of teen pregnancy. However, through my experience, and as a result, not to be the nerdy, you know, reflecting back upon research, but we have to because it tells a story, we're seeing that there's disparities when we're speaking of who is more likely to be a teen who's pregnant. And unfortunately, Black and Hispanic girls are 3 times more likely to be pregnant. So we have to look at this disparity, and it's no different here in this community of Long Island. And I can speak more specifically about what's happening in Nassau County. We can point to the overall decline of teen pregnancy rates to 2 major factors, which include more access and comprehensive sexuality programming that has been proven effective in reducing teen pregnancy rates, and also an added component, which is increasing access to reproductive health care, more specifically to LARCs, which are long-acting reversible contraceptives. With speaking more about sexuality, with speaking more, providing that empowerment, providing that safe place for teens to speak about their bodies and to talk about sex, something that is natural, is biological, when we provide that resource and then also link youth, our girls, to the care that they need to make decisions that will be healthier and safer for them, we are seeing a decline. But yet we're seeing an increase or not too much of damage being made with that in communities of color. So what does that present? Are we having conversations? Are we providing comprehensive sex ed in communities of color, in school districts, in other CBO settings? Are we talking about this at home? Is there that trusted adult that a girl of color knows that she can go to speak about how her body is changing, related to body image, relating to any sexual activity? And through providing this work, too often I hear from teenage girls who are saying, wow, I'm so happy that I have an adult to talk to about these things. And I'm happy that I can be that adult, but I want to encourage everyone in this room, as an adult, as a professional, as a parent, as a mom, as an auntie, whomever we are, to provide that opportunity to be that trusted adult to help our girls through that process.
I can't help but, I want to piggyback on what you just said, in that my frame of reference is empowerment with all the girls I work with. A lot of my colleagues are here today from the Brentwood School District, and from our deans to our psychologists to our social workers to our monitors. It's important that everyone empowers. It doesn't fall on one person. Everyone in the community has the capacity to empower our girls. I grew up in the community of Wyandanch, and way back then, that was a great thing. There was no social media, so I didn't know what other people thought about my town. When I got to college, I found out what they thought about Wyandanch. I had no idea. So I wasn't cyberbullied. Later on, I learned to deal with the impression that I came from a community that wasn't what everyone else's community was to them. But it was the people in my community, like a woman named Mrs. Beard. She had a group called the Vinette Cultural Dancers, and we learned to dance in the basement of the Catholic Church. This was before Girls Inc., and we had a Girl Scout group, but this woman empowered more girls. That group goes on today. It's run by her daughter and women in the community. And I know that all of you would be empowered if you had such an opportunity to join a group like Girls Inc., like the programs in your school that are run by my colleagues. If you have an opportunity to be with other women, other females who are empowered, who are strong, who are bold, who are smart, they are your mentors, your family members, your community members. You need to be around them, and that's your survival, that's your empowerment. And no matter where you came from and who your parents are, and what your educational level is or what your income level is, you have the power to succeed.
So I'd like to go touch into that a little bit more because each of you spoke a little bit on collaboration, and that's kind of the purpose, right? So why do we have so many people in the room to hear about issue with girls? I'm sure that people in the room, there are some who may not have girls, they may not have daughters, they may not have a niece or a nephew, but why is it necessary for everybody on Long Island to understand, to be aware of, and to contribute whatever they can contribute to the betterment, to the empowerment of our girls here on Long Island? Why and how does collaboration help?
Well, I guess I'll answer that first. Specifically for the program that I work closely with, the CAP program for short, through the Department of Health, it really takes a village. It's not just one program's responsibility to work towards a particular, health interest or any particular issue that's may be experienced within a community. Not only does it take partnership with other esteemed and established professionals in the education and the clinical side of things, but we really need to collaborate with the community, with the parents, with the home. We can't just rely on particular programs and school districts to really meet the needs of our girls. We have to be able to create that empowerment and that structure at home. So there's plenty of opportunity for parents, to the best of their ability, to become involved, to become a part of anything that's happening within the school, the PTA, if you have the time for that, or become engaged with a lot of the programming that we may offer that's not just only specific for girls or for teenagers, but also an opportunity for parents and for adults to learn about what they can learn, to kind of unlearn some values that they may have been a part of for years and years and years. Let's unlearn some of the things that we have just been a part of and really learn what it is that's happening now in communities that are affecting youth today. Because for me to have certain conversations about sex with my mom, I'm going to hear something about, well, when I was growing up, well, guess what? It's not like that anymore, right? So it's an opportunity to encourage and, partnership, of course, with, organizations, so we have a stronger front and greater opportunity, but really to engage the people who are seeing youth in the morning and at night to create that safe environment.
Yeah, you said that so beautifully. I just think that collaboration is key. We can only be experts in such, few things. So for myself and my team at NEDA, we are body image and eating disorder experts, but we're not experts on the community out here in Long Island or in the LGBTQ community, for example. And so by partnering with other experts in areas where that's not our strong suit, we can work together to make sure that we're really not just sending messages and reaching the girls, but sending effective messaging. So, takes a village. So that's all.
And I would add to that, one of the things we know about trying to get women to run for office is they have to be asked many, many times to run. And that has to do with how we're socialized, right? As girls and women, we often don't do something until we're 100% sure we can do it, right? Where we don't necessarily jump into something that we might fail at. And so if we can, as girls, learn how to fail and fail up and do better the next time, we'll be more likely to jump into things later on that we were probably going to be really good at, but there's a chance of failure. And I think that is a message that has to be collaborative, because it has to come over and over and over, because all of the people in this room are sending, these good, strong, body positive, self-image stuff. And, and I'll use an example. I have a 4-year-old who, and, we work really hard in our household to be really positive, body positive, self-esteem. And she goes to daycare where she hears her teachers talk over her head about how fat they feel. And so I can't be there every day, right? I have to have that girls have to be getting these messages from as many places as possible because they're getting the negative messages from so many, many places. So we have to have we need a village to counteract that message.
And also, I know it's your turn, but you just reminded me that, told you I'm from Jersey, right? My team and I like to think too that when we demonstrate to young girls that different organizations or different women can partner and really work together, it's also sending a message to young girls that they can do that too, that not everyone can do everything on their own, and the value of partnership and learning and collaborating from one another can trickle down to the girls that you're actually working with as well.
That's okay. I'm empowered. I'm fine with that. And this is not to score brownie points, but I have to say Dr. Keel, who since she's joined our district, has brought many wonderful things to us in Brentwood. And one thing that we've begun to do, and I think it's so important, is network with the community. We are doing weekend symposiums where we have other agencies come in and work with our parents and our students. They are part of the collaboration. We are not just professionals coming in and speaking to parents, but we're students that are involved in the program, community agencies, and if we don't network together, our girls are not empowered. And this is one way of doing it. So I'm very happy to say that as a school district, we're communicating and networking with our agencies in the community and our families in a way that's allowing our girls to become more empowered. Thank you, Dr. Keel.
So I'm going to get a little specific and then I'll kind of come back out and broaden. So for Cindy, what does cyberbullying look like? We have a lot of people in the room who are pre-cyberbullying era, I'll say, including myself. And sometimes it's hard to understand what exactly these girls are going through when they're dealing with cyberbullying. So can you tell us what is it and what does it actually look like?
And usually it's messages. By the time I get a complaint about being cyberbullied, there are usually text messages that are involved. It could be on Facebook, it could be Snapchat, but it's usually social media. It's something that is repeated over time. It's aggressive towards the person who's being bullied. And there's an imbalance of power. Someone feels that someone is exerting something on them that's harmful. So I don't have to define it as such. And sometimes parents may define it differently. So it's very important for us to get in a room and for someone to be able to expose themselves and talk about what's hurting them. So it doesn't have to be anyone's definition here. But it's usually something that's involved in cyberspace on a tablet, social media, it's on the internet, it's on a phone, and it doesn't have to be defined by myself, my principal, or my dean. It's defined by you. You feel harmed. And sometimes parents don't always define cyberbullying the same way. So it's important for them to be on the same page and understand that if you're not ready, if you don't feel it's something that you're ready to deal with, that's where we come in as school professionals sometimes in helping you get to a place where you feel comfortable in addressing it, because it's not something you can address until you're ready.
Wonderful. Naomi, talking from the issue of girls' health kind of as a whole, what are some of the issues around girls' health that Long Island residents may not be aware of if they're not involved in what's coming out of Planned Parenthood or the health communities that are serving our girls?
Okay, wow. So from direct interactions with youth within school settings or through partnerships with other community-based organizations who work with youth, as I mentioned before, that misconception of thinking that as an adult that youth don't want to talk to you. Girls don't want to talk to you, teens don't want to talk to you because you're not relatable because you're how much older. And that is a huge misconception. we are in a position where we can use our power with our age to really, and when I say that, because there is a power dynamic, right? So there can be that feeling of, I don't want to talk to you because you're older, am I going to get in trouble? Are you going to judge me? Are you going to call somebody I know and get me in trouble, right? But if we are actually recognizing what our power is in that dynamic and listening, before you are talking, before you are out talking, that girl, that teenager, if we are listening and providing an environment where they feel safe and supported, the sky's the limit. And there's a lot of people here on Long Island. There's so many organizations that are focused with providing resources for our youth, for our girls, that's something that's too often forgotten about or not known about. There's so many organizations that are here to help our girls. But we just have to remember to listen and to have some sort of linkage program for us to continue to partner and to know where we can steer people in the right direction to get the particular care that they need. When it comes to, oh my goodness, I keep going back to comprehensive sex ed. It is important that we provide a structured environment to learn about sexuality, to learn about what resources are available, regardless of what community you live in, regardless of ability to pay, regardless of, a lot of different burdens or that may serve as barriers in your life. There are resources, and it is proven. This is why we're seeing a decline of teen pregnancy rates. We need to have these open and difficult conversations about contraceptives. We need to have those difficult conversations about abstaining from sex, and this is how you can do it. These are the concrete skills that I can provide you through this organization or other organization on how to negotiate condom use skills. You know you should be using a condom if you're sexually active, but can you tell your partner that? And how confident are you in speaking up for yourself? There are concrete ways to get that done. There's concrete ways to stick to your limit and not give in to sexual pressure. So it's through collaboration. But there's plenty of resources available, whether it's school-based, whether it's community-based, and first and foremost at home. Parents have the resources. All of our organizations, I'm sure I can speak specifically for my own organization, provides programming for adults, how to talk to your youth, regardless of who they are to you, how to talk to youth in your community, in your household about these difficult conversations. There's support on many different ends.
So, yes, Chelsea, you know I was coming to you. She's like, I'm going to go ahead and take the mic. She's looking at me. So we, Girls Inc., collaborated with the National Eating Disorders Association on a specific curriculum called The Body Project, which fits so beautifully into our media literacy programming. And so we collaborated to deliver that with girls at the same time. We had to be trained on it before we can even bring the girls out. And we were moved and changed by this particular program, and it was really helpful to go into the room with the girls to talk about this. So if you can speak to why the Body Project? Why was that so important?
Yeah, so the Body Project is wonderful. So it is an evidence-based eating disorder prevention program, but generally speaking, we tend to refer to it as a body confidence and self-esteem program. And one of the things that makes it so amazing is that it's evidence-based. And I've heard some of the other panelists speak about research and evidence, and it's really important to know that what you're doing is actually effective. I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to body image and self-esteem with young girls and boys, I think everyone has good intentions when they give presentations and workshops and have these discussions, but sometimes those topics might be unintentionally triggering and harmful. And so with the Body Project, we know it works. Over 1 million girls have gone through the program, and it's repeatedly shown to decrease eating disorder symptoms, but also improve self-esteem, school and social functioning, improve mood, and all of those other really wonderful things. And so as I mentioned, we train adults to facilitate the program for many reasons. So some of the materials are online and you could just download and run the program, but I think our organization thinks it's really important to be trained to not only learn those facilitation skills, but to also learn how to address some of these issues that might come up in the program, especially if body image and eating disorders and media literacy isn't your area of expertise. And one of the really great things about the training is, we do evaluations at the end, And even though this program is for high school and college age girls, we found that more than 90% of our facilitators that go through this one-day training actually have improved body image themselves at the end of the day. So the facilitators are reaping the benefits as well, and then they're feeling empowered and having the opportunity to have really experienced the program hands-on. So when they deliver to the girls, they can speak from experience. They can say, yes, I know this exercise was really challenging, and this is, you know, how I felt and what I saw and what I did when I had to go through it. And so, you know, I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards about the Body Project. We feel so fortunate to partner with you all on it, and you know, we're just trying to change the world.
So Shannon, Girls Inc. is all about advocacy, advocating for the rights of girls, advocating for gender equality. We have a public policy office now in Washington, D.C. Our affiliates across the country all participate in helping with policy and just, you know, standing up for what's right for girls. And from your perspective, I feel that there's a strong sense of advocacy, and which is really about making change. So aside from encouraging more women to become elected officials, to be at the table, to impact some of the laws and what's governing our area as it relates to girls, how can we be advocates? How do we act?
So I'm going to give you a quote that I have no idea where it comes from. If somebody knows, you should tell me. And it's, if you are not at the table, you're on the menu.
Say it one more time.
If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. I can also quote Hamilton. You got to be in the room where it happened. I could quote all of Hamilton. We don't have time. But this is the thing, I think, is that first we have to get in the room, and we have to know who has the power and get ourselves there. I have all of my stories about really awesome women who are social workers. And I had this really amazing student who was Puerto Rican and was, as part of her social work internship, was asked to go to the state capitol and start talking with legislators. And she's absolutely terrified, absolutely terrified. It was not the place that she belonged. And she said to a group of people at the end of one day, I don't know that I'll ever feel comfortable here, but I'm doing this so that my kids will feel comfortable here. My kids will know this is a place for them because they saw me there. And I think that's one of the big, if we want to model for girls that your voice counts, then let's believe our voices count, and let's get in the room with those people. And some of that, you know, social work is all about relationships, right? You gotta know the people, and you gotta develop relationships, and you gotta say thank you when people do things you wanted them to do. Don't just call when they do stuff you don't like. I used to answer the phones in the Senate office, and you hear all day, every day, people who don't like what you did. And when somebody calls and says thank you, it changes your day, and it makes a huge difference. So that, I think you have to get some skin in the game and get in there. I know it's a really simple way to say it, but
it's true. It's very true. What is it that each of you would like to leave here today? What do you want Long Islanders to know when it comes to the state of our girls?
I think the thing that I want you to leave with is that whether you're here as, you know, a 12-year-old or a 50-year-old, what you do will make a difference to the girls on Long Island. And so, I said earlier, I ask everybody to run for office. So some of you are already in office, you don't count. But the rest of you, I am asking you to run. I am telling you that you are qualified and you are capable, and having, if our state legislature, if our county legislatures, if Congress was made up of people who understand girls like the people in this room do, we would change the world. We would absolutely change the world. So that's what I'm leaving with. You want to change, you know, do you want to change this? Get some skin in the game and think about running.
My take-home message would be, you know, you're not alone, and I think it's very simple, but truly you're not alone in your body image struggles. Unfortunately, probably everyone in this room has struggled at some point in their lives with body image. If you are struggling with eating concerns that are beyond kind of your normal dieting, your relationships with food, The National Eating Disorders Helpline is available. It's a free and confidential helpline, and we have volunteers to provide information and resources as well as treatment options. So we can actually locate treatment options in Long Island in your area for eating disorder specialists if you are struggling with body image eating concerns or if you know somebody who is. And then just also our website, nationaleatingdisorders.org. We have resources for educators, for coaches and athletes, for parents, for young kids, how to help a friend, or what should I say to someone who might be struggling, as well as a free online screening tool if you're not sure if you're struggling. So many resources. Again, I'm happy to talk to anybody after, give you my card, but just know that you're not alone, and if you are struggling with body image eating disorders or any sort of mental health, recovery is possible with the right help and support. And so I wish you the best.
My take-home message would be, well, first for the girls to identify who that trusted adult is in your life, who you can go to talk about anything that you feel comfortable speaking about, because guess what? It is in a safe place and you can trust that person to steer you in the right direction, to listen to you. And more importantly, to the adults in the room, strive to be that trusted adult. Strive to be that person who will listen to the concerns of our girls and will, even in difficult situations, in those awkward conversations, put some of those feelings you have aside, decentralize yourself, it's not about you right now, and focus on the best way that we can encourage and support our girls to make the healthiest decisions about their health. So find that trusted adult, and we're gonna do that work on being that trusted adult for you.
I think everyone within the sound of my voice in this room has heard of #MeToo. And I think the greatest thing about that movement is that no one has to be ashamed of the fact that they may have felt harmed by someone. And since I was speaking about cyberbullying, I want everyone to know that if you were ever bullied or you are cyberbullied, it is not your fault and you have nothing to be ashamed of. My take-home message for you is that if you were feeling harmed, or if you feel that someone's harmed you, it doesn't make you less strong or less empowered. Please share with an adult. Please share with a friend. Please share with a parent. Please allow someone to help you. As you just said, we are here to help you. There are many groups that are represented here today that are working together and networking between Girls Inc., schools, churches. Please be involved with the group. Know that there are people there to help you.
Thank you very much. So at this time, we'd like to see if there are any questions from the audience. We'll take those questions. You can kind of raise your hand, and Sunita will kind of come around. So I'll just kind of bring this piece to a little bit of a wrap up. It was very important for us to have them at the table because they're all partners in the work that Girls Inc. does. Girls Inc. bridges the gap between academics and life, giving girls those critical skills that they need to be successful in life. That doesn't always come from school. And that Girls on Long Island is everybody on Long Island's issue. Girls on Long Island is everybody on Long Island's issue. If this is your community, you need to be concerned about what happens with girls. You need to be able to know what's going on with our girls. And like they gave you some empowering tools today, you need to know how to support the girls in our community. Because when you support the girls of the community, the entire community thrives. Okay. Have a question?
Yes, I really enjoyed the panel speakers. Thank you. One of my questions is always about poverty. That just even, I think, because poverty itself is traumatic, and I don't know if that gets addressed with Girls Inc. or not, or how it does get addressed. Just how to survive it or whatever. Thank you.
Sure. Does anyone want to take that or? Oh, the mic is over there.
Yeah, I can speak
Would you
louder,
like my
that's
mic?
fine, okay?
I will address it, but I want to give them an opportunity to.
So everything that we're speaking about and representing as different topics, everything is intersectional. It's all intersectional. It's all related by a myriad of factors that we are all experiencing in different ways. I can say that with providing sex ed education, one of those factors that we have to be mindful of that points to disparities with teen pregnancy rates amongst Black and Hispanic girls is a huge access issue. So whether the families are insured, can follow up with healthcare that's needed regarding their reproductive health, or knowing what available resources are there for those who, regardless of insurance status, regardless of ability to pay, all of that. We do take that into consideration. So one way that we look at that is through Planned Parenthood of Nassau County, we do have teen clinic hours. So every Friday between 4 and 7 o'clock, at our Hempstead location, we provide resources, whether it's educational or whether it's clinical, that will be covered by New York State funding initiatives that will provide those sort of, that care if it is clinical, like coming in for birth control or something like that, that would be free of charge or on a sliding fee scale. So taking into account that in particular communities, access is a big deal. And why may access be a deal? Because we're talking about income, right? So socioeconomic factors, all of these is all intersectional. So that's one of the ways that we adjust that particular barrier.
And I think it's important to mention too that when it comes to like Planned Parenthood, and although she's here representing CAP, that Planned Parenthood for girls' health, period. If girls are coming from communities that are high need and they need basic health services, that Planned Parenthood is a place for them to go. As far as poverty from our perspective, one of the things that Girls Inc., well, the mission of Girls Inc. is to empower all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. And our focus is, for the most part, a lot of the communities that lack the resources needed to be able to give the girls that foundation that they need. So we do focus a lot on high need areas. We focus on serving girls with impact. You know, we brought these folks to the table because we cover all of these areas in our programming that we work with. And we want to be able to not only provide them with solutions and options to be empowered themselves, but connect them to resources that they themselves and or their families can utilize so that they can all be empowered. Does that help answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Hi, how are you? Thank you, ladies, so much. Naomi, I'm going to make you keep talking. I do have a question. I worked for years in the city, family planning. I'm a nurse practitioner. It was very easy. The girls came in, we went into their schools. There was no parents involved. I am curious, because you're in Nassau County, there is a big discrepancy economically all over, from the North Shore down to South Shore throughout. I moved out here years ago, and I remember having conversations with my son's principals. The parents would kill us. We can't give condoms. I'm curious if you've also, because there's that, you talk about access.
Right.
These other kids might have access to care, but they don't really know where to go because you bump into a wall. Parents not wanting to talk about it, pediatricians not wanting to talk about it. So sometimes I find, I found that I was able to, speak with these kids, and it's easier when you're not running into certain, conservative kind of more views. So I'm curious if you bumped into that or have problems with that or how to break through. I had a whole conversation, and his health teacher said, "Oh, we'll just teach him how to use condoms, on a banana. I think it's a waste of fruit, but I'm not going to invest in it." It was like crazy. And I just, I didn't, full disclosure, I didn't go to the nurse. I was curious what she does, but the principal just said the parents would kill me. So I know a lot of these girls, and I hear them talking. They not really know what they're talking about, and I find myself like, do I speak with them, or are the parents going to kill me?
Right.
So I'm just curious if you run into that being in Nassau County.
Of course.
Okay.
I think anywhere on Long Island, of course. I can say that one saving grace for the particular situation that I am in, yes, I am housed at Planned Parenthood of Nassau County, and anything Planned Parenthood is always faced with stigma, so, that is a barrier in itself, just to have that on my business card. But to put that aside, the fact that the CAP program is New York State Department of Health funded, and it is a statewide initiative because it is an issue to address teen pregnancy rates, it's a little bit easier for me to get into particular school districts, but it comes with partnership. So partnering with, of course, the school administration, with parents, making sure we're providing that community outreach. Many of the school districts that are accepting of this CAP programming in Nassau County is the Hempstead School District, Westbury, and Roosevelt. They have school-based health centers. And I guess based upon different, I can't really get into the nitty gritty of school districts because I'm not a district employee, but based upon what their MOUs may be with their school-based health centers, they are allowed to hand out condoms. I just need to make sure that through my program, when I'm there in health classes, that I can do that as well. If I can't, I know where to refer youth within that community. So it's all about, crossing your T's, dotting your I's in partnership, and relying on the fact that this is a New York statewide initiative. So however you may feel or someone may feel about Planned Parenthood, guess what? That's the administrative end of it, but to just be concerned about our girls, period, it really shouldn't matter what organization is receiving this funding.
I may jump in because I like jumping in and adding things. But just to that note, no matter what at Girls Inc., we're in no judgment zone. So it doesn't matter what our political views are. It doesn't matter what our religious views are. None of that matters. What matters is what is the need of that girl and how can we best meet that? How can we best help this girl? How can we help her arrive at a decision? How can we help her get the resources that we need? Because whether or not we think what she's doing is good, bad, or indifferent, our job is to empower them.
Hi, I just wanted to follow up on the question about poverty and talk a little bit about the grant that Judy spoke about earlier. At Girls Inc., what we've done, we actually have $20 million. And so the grant that Long Island won, that grant, they have to focus on underserved communities. And that's what we've done. So every affiliate, we have 85, they all have an opportunity to apply for the grant, and they run anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000 that they're given. But again, the focus is on underserved communities.
We have time for 2 more questions. And I don't think we heard from our girls yet, so if any of our girls have any questions, we'll make that 3 more questions.
And this is not a question, and I want to address this to the girls. It's taken me a few minutes to decide to empower myself to get up. Because I was wondering, is it a question? So I'm getting role modeling and sharing with you what my struggles are, even as an older girl. So, and I wanted to address poverty quickly. I love Girls Inc. because I consider it to be all about resiliency. And I want to encourage all of us who are here to remember that poverty is one of the greatest risk factors that hinder resiliency. So, we also know that a fantastic, a very powerful protective factor is having a role model and having someone that we can count on. So I want to challenge each and every one of us sitting here, whether a young adult, an older adult, or whoever, whatever you are, and whoever, whatever you represent, to please aim each and every day to be a role model for each of these girls, because they need us. They need to know our struggles, but they also need to know that just like we are here, and we have made it, so to speak, so can they. So I want to say, remember that to foster resiliency and to use our resiliency, we must have that person that will serve as our protective factor. So please, and I'm sorry it's not a question, I was so compelled to say that.
And we are glad you did. Thank you so much. We have one more question over here in this area, I think. Someone raised their hand over here.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Just to piggyback on what you said about the resiliency factor. My name is Chisani West. I'm the Director of Student Mentoring from Adelphi. Shannon, do you remember meeting me a year ago about the doctorate program? I was accepted. Quick shout out to you. But if I could just piggyback on the comments about your tribe. Kim touched on it beautifully in her talk. But the importance of finding your tribe is not always your birth family that can support you and guide you through your life. So I would encourage everyone to look for a mentor, whether it's through a formal mentoring program or informal mentoring program. And I just want to ask the panel, with your permission, Renee, to elaborate on the importance of how mentors can impact your success tremendously, because we know that our experiences will translate accordingly. So thank you for your comments today.
I'm glad that you asked that. I grew up in that very small community of Wyandanch, and my mentors were Mrs. Beard. They were Dr. Howe. They were the attorney who served the community of Wyandanch and Babylon for many years. But there were people in my life, teachers who I saw every day in Wyandanch High School, at the Mount Avenue School. Martin Luther King was still alive. It wasn't the Martin Luther King School yet. But these were people who had an impact on my life because they were there every day and they spoke to me and they saw me. So it's about not feeling invisible. And I think that's important for all of us as adults who work with young people. You should know that you're not invisible. When I walk past a student in the hall, I speak to them. And sometimes they look up like, oh, you're talking to me. You are not invisible. If you are empowered, you are there. I see you. Even if I close my eyes, I know you're there. You are not invisible. We can't allow them to feel invisible. We must see them, and we must allow them to feel empowered by seeing them.
Along with what you're saying, yes, girls, you're not invisible. Also, as adults, we're not invisible. Even if you don't think that you are a role model, we are. People are looking up to us, and people are looking up to you too. Every one of us here have some sense of power where somebody is looking up to us or what we have achieved, the position that we're in. One day I want to be like that person, or one day I want to be like that person. We are all serving as role models for each other. And so to lead with your best foot forward, always remembering that, that's like one of the greatest tools or one of those pillars of self-worth, of empowerment. To remember that even if you feel that you're not a role model, even if you feel that no one looks up to me, someone is watching. And you want to lead with your best foot forward.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought up the question of mentors. So for myself, I'm pretty young. I'm in my mid-20s, so I'm in this weird place where it's like I'm looking for a mentor, but I've also now had the opportunity to start mentoring others. And for many years, I kind of thought that I could do it on my own and that everyone in my way was kind of competition. And now I've really learned the importance of surrounding yourself with strong, powerful women who you really can learn from. And then, passing that on and being that for someone younger than you. So if you're in high school and you have a younger cousin or sister or someone who you can really show the road because you have your own experiences and you've learned, and as you get older and older, you're only going to keep learning and keep having messages and things to share with them. And for me, I have a couple of wonderful mentors in different areas. So someone who's giving me financial guidance, someone who's giving me professional guidance, life and dating guidance, so, everything really. And then I get to do that for some of my, former campers and girls that I work with. And so, just be one and find one. Yeah.
All right, we'll try not to strangle you. So I'm also really glad that you asked this question and that I haven't heard it yet. And I had the opportunity at Adelphi to work with a really phenomenal doctoral student who did her dissertation on what were the factors that helped African American women succeed in doctoral programs. And mentorship was key for all of the women that she talked with. The presence of a mentor was a protective factor and helped them succeed. And the absence of mentorship was crucial in them either not finishing or finishing at great cost to themselves. And I think part of that is about not just surrounding yourself with smart people, but surrounding yourself with people who are different from you and think different from you. And an example of this dissertation was that for the African American women in her study, faith was a huge, huge thing that was important to them. And that's not as important in my culture, and it's not something that I thought of. And because I know Theresa and the work that she did, Now, when I work with African American students, I think more about bringing faith into the conversation and letting them tell me if that's something that they need, right? And I wouldn't have ever thought about that if it wasn't for her. So you have to surround yourself with really smart people who are different from you and create an environment where it's okay for them to tell you that your ideas are not appropriate for their culture or their situation. And they have to have trust in you so that they'll do that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So, yes, by all means. So we talked a lot about today. We talked about these issues that the girls brought to us. We talked about the cyberbullying. We talked about, and some of these issues are not just issues that young girls are facing. There are we have adults who are facing some of these issues. So we talked about our girls' health. We talked about our girls' body images, and we talked about social media and cyberbullying and just advocacy and creating a level playing field for our girls and all the things that we can do. Does everybody feel like they have something that they can do? They can go act. They feel like there's something that you can do when you walk out of here today. Wonderful. So we heard all of this, and we don't want to, we've got things going on with our girls, but then there's a lot of wonderful things that's happening, and that's why our organizations are doing the things that we're doing. So if we can hear really quickly one line of what's really going good in your area of expertise when it comes to our girls. What's really working?
Is it on? So one thing I can say that is going really well is this concept of affirmative consent, saying yes. The absence of no is not a yes or that, green light to go forward. So teaching our youth, not just young girls, but also young boys, everyone a part of this conversation, that if you do not hear yes, that does not mean, if you do not hear no, that does not mean yes. Okay? Affirmative consent is huge, and we're seeing a lot of youth really understanding this concept and feeling comfortable saying no, and feeling comfortable understanding that if they don't hear no, that they need to hear yes. Okay, so not to be confusing, but we've been, a lot of us have been brought up in a culture where you say what you want somebody else wants to say, what's expected of you. So I'm finding that people are really wrapping their mind around this concept and embracing it.
Wonderful.
I just want to say that according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, cyberbullying has gone down.
Wonderful.
That may not make anyone currently being cyberbullied happy, but I think that's a result of a lot of the interventions that are taking place in groups and after-school groups, during school, and so I encourage you to get involved with groups. We have a cyberbullying group at school. We have workshops that come to our different schools in the school district. If you're involved with any community organizations, if this is an issue, make it known.
Okay. Really quickly, what's going well? What's working?
Okay, well, it's twofold, but I'll be quick. So the first one is that, through Girls Inc. and other partnerships with the Body Project, we see just tangible results that the body image is improving, the social function is improving, eating disorder symptoms decreasing, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really exciting. This evidence-based program is making a difference. And then just also on a greater societal level, I think that body image and eating disorders is really coming more into the spotlight, especially with marginalized communities and diverse communities. We're hearing different stories and different experiences, and I think people are starting to really understand that it's okay to either speak up publicly or speak up and talk to a trusted adult or something like that. And so I'm feeling hopeful for, more change.
I have a student that I worked with who woke up one morning and found out that her state legislator had been inappropriately messaging with a 16-year-old. He eventually resigned, and 2 months before her graduation from our MSW program, she announced her candidacy for that race. And she is one of a record number of women who are running for office this year. And so I'm really encouraged by that. But now we need to get people registered to vote and get them to the polls and vote those women into office.
Wonderful. One more resounding round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much for coming out today. All the great work. And this is important why we wanted to have them here with us today, because they really are speaking to the work that Girls Inc. is doing. We're partnering with some of these organizations in order to get out there, to get in front of the girls, to have an impact on their lives, and to help them, empower them to be strong, smart, and bold. So before I go into my last bit, if you would like to stay here, you can. If you would like to go to your seat, you can. It's up to you. I'm going to make a little quick plug announcement before we go into the last piece and then call up one of our board members to come and close us out. So, pull out your calendars. November 1st is the Girls Inc. Gala. That is our annual gala. Yes, girls, take note of it because girls come to the gala too. That's right, write it down. So we're looking forward to having you and all the other people join us for that wonderful gala to support the work that we do here at Girls Inc. April 28th, we have the Spring Empowerment Conference for our girls right here in this room. It is an amazing conference where girls come and get a full day of programming, hot topics, speed mentoring, career panels. They get to do breakout sessions. They do STEM activities, financial literacy, college and career readiness. There's a strong focus on health for our girls this year. And they also get to do some art. They express interest in finding out, stretching into the areas of art. They're going to be doing watercolors, and we have some artists that are coming in. So it's going to be an amazing experience for those girls. Some of you have been here before. We invite especially the women to come in to do the career panels with them and have a great time. So if you have girls in your life and you want them empowered, make sure that they're here with us on April 28th from 9 to 4. Our summer camps, take a look. We have our great partnership with Brookhaven National Laboratory, where they get to work directly with the scientists. So that's coming up in the summer. Take a look at Girls Inc. LI to see what else is going on. We want to encourage you in that. So thank you again for coming out today. And as I move to bring us to a close, I just want to kind of sum up what we talked about today. There's a lot of things that's going on, but there's a lot of great things that's happening, but there's still more work to be done. But now you see how important the work is, how important it is to support and empower our girls, how we support girls, how we support communities and the world. Through the programming that Girls Inc. provides, girls are empowered to use their voice, engage their critical skills, they receive in programming, access and use resources available to them, and understand that they don't have to navigate this world alone. They're not invisible. Girls Inc. helps to bridge that gap between academics and life, giving girls access to a safe space, mentoring relationships, as well as life skills, tools, strategies, insight, education, information, and resources that are essential to living strong, smart, and bold, healthy, educated, and independent lives. But we couldn't do any of this without the support of our community, our corporate sponsors, our foundations, the community in general, and individuals just like you. Much has been done. Much has been done. But there's still a tremendous amount of work to be done to support our girls. Together, we can help our girls live the full-bodied lives that they deserve to live. Won't you help us today in helping to empower our girls right here on Long Island? You'll see there are donation cards on your table, and you may also donate electronically if you wish. We're tech savvy. You take a look over here. We have our website up. You just go to girlsincli.org and click that red donate button right there on the side. You can choose to make a one-time donation, or you can join our monthly giving circle to help sustain the programming that we do on a daily basis. So if you pick up that card, or if you click on your link, we're happy to give you a few moments to complete your card to make a donation today. And someone will come around with the bags in order for you to drop those in. No amount is too small or too large. Thank you.
Should we put the pressure on?
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to donate. I want to give a shout out to the girls who are sitting at the table with today. I don't like public speaking either, so thank you all for being brave and standing up and speaking. support, coming here today, coming to our gala, donating, allows us to give free programming to girls across Long Island at all different socioeconomic levels. So we thank you for participating, for coming today, and for your continued support. Also, you can buy t-shirts in the back over here and show your support and wear it proudly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.